Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Havokmkr Studio and FMP Wargamers. So, a lot of videos getting uploaded today. As I said in a previous video, if you watched that one about Dormammu and some useful or a useful website for Marvel Crisis Protocol. So let us talk about Games Workshop. So I've done a couple videos this week prior to today, and they weren't painting Games Workshop in a positive light. And I didn't want to put too much negativity out there, especially starting on a new week, and it's my birthday week, so I didn't want to really hamper my fun and amusement for the week by negative videos. But it's still Games Workshop, so we're going to talk about some bad stuff. So we're going to talk about the bad first, and then we're going to get into the good. So let's talk about the bad and try to figure out why multiple windows are popping up while I'm clicking. All right, so next week, here's the good. Last week we had Age of Sigmar, third edition, the Dominion box launch box dropped all the goodies. There's still some at stores, so if you're wanting to get that very good box, minus the Stormcast Eternals that I'm not going to talk about, that it is still available, which is really good. But it's also bad for Games Workshop because it's some bad optics on their part. You guys have probably seen a previous video that I talked about with Age of Sigmar being split up to for local game stores, and the bulk of that split up is actually due to global shipping delays, which actually is Games Workshop pulling back more of their product that was supposed to go out to the stores. That it was actually made available for their web store, which we do have proof. I've gone over that before. Well, enough evidence that besides Games Workshop admitting it, but they won't admit it. But anyways, let's not get into that. This week, coming up this Saturday in just a few days, on the 10th, we're going to have our next wave of new releases, which is usually time for joy. Usually. But this week we get to see book 2 Act 2 for Warzone Caradon, the Book of Fire. If you're not familiar with the first book, came out just a few months ago, basically, to say the beginning of the year, 2021. Had some great rules in it for Death Guard and Adeptus Mechanicus. Must have rules, really, and some regiments of renown. And I think there was also a little bit of stuff in there for Sisters of Battle. Now this one is going to have, I think, a little bit more of the same, but is actually going to have a host of rules for Chaos Space Marines. Now, before you get super excited about all those host of rules for Chaos Space Marines, just sit down and just sit back. So, what's going to be coming is, and I'm going to read this off to you because I know some of you are driving and listening. So, this book collates a range of existing rules for the Chaos Space Marines in one place. They have been updated with their relevant FAQ changes. Cool. And formatted for the current edition of Warhammer 40,000 to give you an easy overview of their traits, stratagems, and relics. Here's the full list, and I'll read that list off here in just a second. So people are like, oh, formatted, that means, oh, great, that means we've got our new rules. No. Slow down. It's not new rules. All they're doing is framing the font and the imagery and how they do like the basically the font for like the one CP, the one that needs to be in the command phase. Basically everything. It is just literally just put it in the format, the terminology that the FAQs already kind of addressed. So we're going to get into what these are in just a moment. So this is going to have rules for the Word Bearers, Red Corsairs, Night Lords, Crimson Slaughter, Alpha Legion, the Purge, Iron Warriors, the Scourged, Emperor's Children, Brazen Beast, World Eaters, Flawless Host, Black Legion, and Creation of Bile. Now, I know there's gonna be some Chaos Space Marine players out there like getting super excited. They're just like, oh my god, we're getting rules. Slow down once again. We always know that Chaos Space Marines are always going to get the shaft when it comes to rules, like 9 times out of 10. And if you're thinking that it's going to be new rules, it's not. It's existing material from the Psychic Awakening. 99.9% sure of that, by the way. That it's coming from the Psychic Awakening books that were supposed to be, or as Games Workshop put it, were kind of like the transition books from 8th edition Warhammer 40,000 to 9th edition Warhammer 40,000. Those books were designed to give everybody their much needed boost to go into 9th edition until you got a new codex, and then your rules would be updated. The Psychic Awakening books would be pretty much defunct unless you want to use them in a friendly game. But for those people that are playing competitively, well, let me walk that back. Everybody's playing competitively. For those that are playing in tournaments, it was just those are your placeholder books until your codexes come out and you had your full rules updates, and those new codexes is what you were using. So why is this problematic? Well, all they're doing is reprinting books and or basically reprinting the rules from books that you've already purchased. That's all this is. This is just a big money grab. It's $60 for rules that you already have, FAQs that are free, rules that are actually floating around there for free right now somewhere out in pirate land online. Not that I'm advocating that you go search for a PDF copy or ask your buddies for PDF copies that are floating around out there for these rules, which they're floating around, or using certain apps or other things that have these rules available for free. The Games Workshop is providing this book at a $60 value for you. And why this is problematic is because all it is just a reprint with the FAQ update, which is in a sense is nice and handy, but it's not new. It's nothing new. So basically, you've already spent probably, if you're a Chaos Space Marine player, you probably spent at least on 2 different books, 80, probably, I think they were $40. Let's just say they were $30. You've already spent $60 on 2 books with these rules. You have the FAQs, and now you are spending another $60. So basically you're paying double the price for your rules. Now, John's personal opinion, don't buy the book. I know you guys are going to. I wouldn't, because you're probably going to be getting a Chaos Space Marine Codex probably in the second half of the year. Knowing Games Workshop, that's what's going to happen here. This is just smacks of, hey, let's go ahead and get the fans to invest. Then we're going to take that extra money that we just pulled from them for no particular reason, and then we're going to put that towards the book that we know is already going to come out. I mean, it's really, you guys are paying them a second time for the same rules that you have, so they can pay for a book that they're going to be putting out with updated rules that's in this book. Do you guys see a problem here? You already bought the Psychic Awakening books that had those rules. We had free FAQs addressing all of that, cleaning up the language. Now you're going to buy this book that you already have rules for and the updates. And then, and probably within the next 6 months, you're going to buy the Army book, the Codex, that's going to have all these rules that you just bought a second time. Do you guys see a problem with that? I do. But you know what? If you feel like you need it, this is your favorite part of the hobby, you like collecting these books, man, go ahead and buy that book. Go ahead and give Games Workshop your money. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I think it would be a waste of money. Now, if you're looking for this book for the campaign because that is something you enjoy, man, oh man, congrats. Get that book. That's awesome that you enjoy the campaigns. I know there's a larger fraction of the hobby, that people enjoy these campaigns over, going to tournaments and stuff, which obviously we've talked about before. Even some of the top tournament players reluctantly acknowledge that tournament playing is a minority of the majority. But we know that that's true. We know that that's true. Now, if you enjoy these type of books, man, go ahead and grab it. If you're a fanboy, fangirl, grab it. I would just say it's a waste of money. It really is. And it's kind of a slap in the face because it's providing also rules for Adeptus Mechanicus, if I read correctly. And and a codex supplement for, and for codex supplement for Adeptus Sororitas of our Order of our Martyred Lady. So the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Adeptus Sororitas, or the Sisters of Battle and Admech, just got their codexes dropped a couple weeks ago. Why didn't they just put those rules inside those books? Because they want you to buy more books, make more money. I think I've dwelled long enough on this. Let's move on to some positive news. But guys, really, I don't think you need to buy it. I think you can avoid it. But that's just me. Let's talk about some positive stuff, some awesome stuff. We're not going to talk about the Were Boys. I get it. Games Workshop is trying to trademark everything. So Weird Boys, you can't really trademark that, but Were Boys, somehow you can. So that's why I guess we're getting weird of Weird Boys, and we're just going to go with Were Boys. But we're going to talk about the Snagga Boys. Lots of bad spelling terminology here. We know that these are going to be front and center for the orcs. They're probably going to be in a box set. I'm guessing is probably going to be a box set. Probably going to be in relation to the Octarius reveal that we're going to be getting this weekend. There's probably going to be a box set with Tyranids versus orcs. Sorry, Tyranid players. I mean, you're going to get a new codex. You might get one or two new models, but don't expect anything good this edition. You're going to have to wait another edition before you guys really get a pat on the butt and a nice big boost. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And don't complain, because you guys are way ahead of the curve in models than Eldar, and so we're not going to talk about them. But so we got some nice look at the new bomb squigs. These look really cool, and hinting that certain squads will be able to have multiples of these. Now this is probably going to be the Snagga Tooth Squig Riders, whatever they're called. That's going to be coming along with it. I don't think this is going to be the normal squads, but it looks like those squads are going to be able to have multiple bomb squigs. And if it follows a lot of the previous orc rules, you're probably going to be able to buy up to 3 of them. This is cool. So I'm not going to read all the rules, but the overview is that you can target a vehicle or a unit, as long as it's not an aircraft, within 12 inches. You send the bomb squig after it. You're going to roll a d6 on a 3+. Or you get to add +1 of the result if it's a vehicle. They'll suffer D3 mortal wounds. That's a nice thing. It's probably going to be about 5 to 10 points. That's not too bad for just a nice D3 mortal wounds that you can pop off there. That's not too bad. I think that you're going to be seeing a lot of bomb squigs, especially since there's a lot of companies out there like Pop Goes the Monkey and Cromlech that are putting out squig bombs like I don't know. We also know that the Beast Snagga knobs are going to be just looking brutal, but they got I guess the character, the knobs themselves, their mounts are going to have the ability called Smash Ahead. Now I don't know if this is just for them or if it's going to be for all of them, but each time this model finishes a charge move or heroic intervention, select one enemy unit with an engagement range and roll 5d6. 5d6. That's awesome. For each result of a 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. That's awesome. Now, something like that, I have a feeling is just going to be just the knobs and probably not the rest of the models, but still, that's really nice. 5d6. Jesus. I mean, you're going to hit with probably 3. I mean, you're probably going to cause 3 mortal wounds. More than likely. Seeing beta, as usual, they're putting all sorts of funky little squigs, just kind of like they did with the Nurglings everywhere when it came to Death Guard. Everybody loves squigs. Squigs are cute. Squigs are fun. It's always great seeing them, and I can't wait to be painting these for Crom Iron Skull. So we know that their pain docs are going to be really front and center, so they're probably going to get a nice boost. But here's the really interesting thing about this article that I really wanted to focus on before we move on, is that they're talking about, and this is really interesting, and it actually is in line with what I was thinking was going to happen. Unfortunately, I got nobody to verify that, so really it's just, we're just going to go with the article. As anyone unlucky enough to be on the receiving end of a Squiggoth charge can attest, some of the larger kinds make a perfect beast of burden, etc., etc., etc. And then they have kind of a silhouetted image of something with a big horn. Games Workshop likes to make the big scary models, and since the Snaga boys or whatever they're called are coming, and they do have that, they're kind of a blend of steampunk and I don't know, indigenous basically orcs, that it makes sense that they would have something big and scary, monstrous to go alongside their cavalry units. And Squiggoth makes sense. They can easily make a Squiggoth that's an outdated model, and I think the model is sold out on Forge World. So it makes sense for them to make a big plastic kit that'll probably have 2 or 3 different big weapon options. So I don't think some people might be like, oh my God, we're going to get a giant Squiggoth. Slow your roll. You're not going to get a giant Squiggoth. But you probably are going to get definitely a Squig. I would say like 90% sure you're getting a Squiggoth. So congrats, Orc players. Plastic Squiggoths coming. You don't have to deal with those crappy resin Squiggoths, even though I know a lot of people use them. But those things always get chipped. They always they're always broken or falling apart. We got some plastic ones coming, so get ready. All right. Normally, I try to stay away from spiky bits. Not that I have a personal issue with Rob or any of the people on spiky bits. I have a problem with the website. Lots just ads and clickbaity stuff pops up everywhere, and it seems like the articles are getting smaller and smaller, and it's more about the ads. I get it though. The ads are paying for it, so I can't really. You get what I'm saying. So they have a nice article actually on there where they're talking about recycling Games Workshop sprues, and there's a change.org thing out there to get basically trying to convince Games Workshop to recycle their plastic, and what that would be is getting that plastic back in and recycling it. Games Workshop's not going to do it because they already do it. In a way, I'll get to that in a second. The reason why they won't do it on a big push, it's just financially not feasible when you can very easily put the plastics in your recyclables and take it to a recycling center or a recycling dumpster or trash can that are almost everywhere, except like probably some Republican city that doesn't believe in recycling or something like that. I don't know. You know what I mean? Not that Republicans don't believe in recycling, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But there's a push, and hey, you know what? Good on them. That they're trying to push. Somebody's trying to push that to happen. Games Workshop is very, very unlikely going to capitulate to this. I think they're going to, hey, thank you for this, but just go to your local recycle center. The article even talks about how easy it is to find a recycling center. If it's that important to you, just take it yourself to a recycling center instead. Because if you're going to take it to a Games Workshop store and get them to ship it off to be recycled, it's actually costing more money. It's costing more fuel. It's costing more resources and carbon emissions, blah, 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 to do that than it is for you just to put it in your recyclables and take it to the recycling center or in your recycling trash. You get what I'm saying here? Good initiative, poor execution. Now, when I said Games Workshop does recycle, to an extent they do. At Now, I don't know about the Games Workshop if they're still doing it anymore, but as of a few years ago, they have basically this machine that you put the sprues in. It grinds up the sprues into tiny, tiny, tiny little flakes. It heats it, and then that heat, when they heat it up, basically they're liquefying it, and it goes back into injection mold. Literally, I've actually seen this. Actually, I've actually put the sprues into the machine and watched it grind up. When I was training back in the day to work for Games Workshop, they were like, "Hey guys, go ahead and grab yourself a whatever your favorite sprue is," and it was like Space Marines, or I think there was at the time it was Empire Knights or something like that. And people were like, "Oh my god, this is awesome! We get this stuff. This is so cool!" And they're like, "Hey, go ahead and put them in this machine." And then they hit the button, and you sit there and watch your sprue of plastic get all churned up into tiny flakes, and then it goes into a reservoir, it gets heated up, blah blah blah, and you watch the plastic injection mold process, and you get to see how the die cast molds go together, etc., etc. So they already do this with their plastic sprues, especially as they will recall product. Like, hey, we're going to be canceling, like, let's just say, for example, when we moved from, say, the 8th edition Warhammer 40,000 Dark Imperium box, and it was time to get all the, as a Dark Heresy, whatever box was before that for 6th and 7th edition, which shared the same box. So they would recall those. They would recall, say, the Lord of the Rings models, and they would sit there and grind those up. Not all of them, but they would generally grind them up depending on the product, recycle it. So they were already doing it. This is good. Not a lot of people know that. Good initiative, just really poor execution. It's something that's better for the environment if you just get up off your lazy butt and recycle. If it's that important to you, just recycle it yourself. It is financially beneficial for you and environmentally beneficial to everybody for you just to go ahead and do the recycles yourself. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a good idea, but it's just not going to fall through the way that you are wanting. So I realize that, for the most part, this has been a good news episode for Warhammer 40,000. It's not always going to be this way, but yeah, there's a little bit of good, a little bit of bad. It's hard not to be upset by these things, but what I want to know is what you guys think about this Warzone Caradon Act 2 book coming out with reprint of the rules. Please let me know in the description below. Let me know what you guys think about the Snaga Boys. Am I on point about the Squigoth? Is it really obvious, or am I just guessing? And let me know what you think about the recyclables. I'd really like to hear from you guys, whether you're a hobbyist, a casual gamer, or a tournament player. I would like to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful day. We'll be back a little later with a fresh RPG video coming out. I've been reviewing a couple RPGs. Not going to be able to cover them all today, but everything from the Warhammer RPGs, tabletop RPGs, to some kind of frightening ones. So we're going to talk about those a little later. You guys have yourself a wonderful day. Talk to you later.